Impact Wrestling reportedly wants to bring in former Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champions, the BRISCOES, as regulars for Impact Wrestling going forward. Plus, a former X Division champion signs a new multi-year contract extension. All this and more in today's Impact Wrestling news. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into today, and the BRISCOES, of course, they had a very busy past weekend, didn't they? Of course, losing or dropping the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championships to FTR at Supercard of Honor, but also appearing for Impact Wrestling at the Multiverse of Matches. And it looks like Impact Wrestling would like to bring the BRISCOES back in as regular members of the Impact Wrestling roster going forward. Now, the BRISCOES' appearance for Impact Wrestling during WrestleMania week may only be the beginning for the tag team. The promotion is said to be interested in working more with the veteran tag team. PW Insider reports that Impact, quotes, fully intends to bring Jay and Mark Briscoe back and would use them as regulars if possible, end quotes. Now, of course, as I mentioned, the BRISCOES were part of Impact Wrestling's Multiverse of Matches pay-per-view last Friday. They lost to the Good Brothers in the main event. The end saw the Bullet Club's Jay White and Chris Bay come to the aid of the Good Brothers. White pushed Mark Briscoe off the top rope while Bay distracted the referee. The Good Brothers capitalized by hitting the Magic Killer for the victory, and PW Insider reports that the BRISCOES said after the show went off the air that they weren't happy about the loss. Now, the BRISCOES match on the Multiverse of Matches show came just hours after they lost a grueling, hard-hitting match for the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championships against Ring of Honor's new champions, FTR, at the Supercard of Honor pay-per-view. Now, after the match at Supercard of Honor, the BRISCOES were attacked in the ring by the Young Bucks. Now, both the Bucks and FTR are, of course, contracted to AEW. However, it doesn't look like the BRISCOES are going anywhere when it comes to AEW anytime soon, and possibly Ring of Honor as well, because a Warner Media executive is reportedly blocking the BRISCOES from working for AEW because of past statements made on social media by Jay Briscoe. Now, he has since apologized for the comments on multiple occasions and received support from fellow professional wrestlers. Now, the BRISCOES were busy during WrestleMania week, appearing at a number of shows in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. They won the GCW tag team titles at Joey Janela's Spring Break 6, Part 1 on Thursday night. It's the latest of several appearances the BRISCOES have made in GCW over recent months. The BRISCOES also appeared at WrestleCon's Mark Hitchcock Memorial Super Show on Thursday, where they defeated Homicide and Low Key. So I think that realistically Impact Wrestling are looking at a situation right now where they're realizing actually the BRISCOES, for the first time in a really long time, they're on the market, because they're not going to go to AEW. And to be honest, I'm sure people within AEW, I'm sure Tony Khan, frankly, would probably want the BRISCOES in AEW. They've got a really strong tag team division, arguably the strongest tag team division anywhere in the world right now when it comes to the Hardy Boys, Red Dragon, Young Bucks, FTR, Jurassic Express, the Lucha Brothers. The list goes on and on and on and on and on of great tag teams that they have. And we know the emphasis that's put on tag team wrestling by AEW. So I'm sure that Tony Khan would want the BRISCOES in AEW. But we know, because of these recent reports, and despite the apologies by the BRISCOES, that going to AEW isn't going to happen. And frankly, I think if it was going to happen, it would have happened by now. The opportunity has been there since December for the BRISCOES to come in, and they haven't. They worked the Ring of Honor Supercard of Honor event, and that was because they were already booked for that show, frankly. Now, some people might say, well, is it possible then that they could stay with Ring of Honor? I think that's very unlikely as well, because if you look at the media scrum that Tony Khan did after Supercard of Honor on Friday, he kind of hinted that he's in discussions with Warner Media about how do we get Ring of Honor into the Warner Media family? How do we find a place for them on television, whether it's TBS, whether it's TNT, whether it's True TV, whether it's on HBO Max? We can find a place for Ring of Honor, can't we? You trust me enough, and it's a different style of wrestling. It's a different product. We can do something with Ring of Honor. I think that's what Tony Khan is hoping. He's mentioned several times. We have great partners in Warner Media, and maybe they'll be part of the future for Ring of Honor. We'll have to wait and see. So if Ring of Honor is going to be part of the Warner Media family, Again, that rules out the Briscoes of any chance of sticking around in Ring of Honor as well. So I think Impact Wrestling, like they've done several times when it comes to talents in recent months and years, when they see an opportunity, they're very, very quick to act. We saw it with all of these people, these former Ring of Honor stars that are currently in Impact Wrestling, whether it's Tavern, PCO, Vincent, the Canellises, all of those people. That comes from when Ring of Honor went on hiatus and they were all released from their contracts and they needed somewhere to work, and Impact Wrestling got in there very, very quickly and said, hey, there's a spot for you here. Come to Impact Wrestling. And that's where Honor No More starts. So I think Impact Wrestling are probably looking at a similar situation with the Briscoes. And I've said several times here on the channel, right, that going from sort of around 2020 time, they lost a lot of names when it came to the tag team division. Obviously, the North, Josh Alexander's doing his singles thing now, but Alex Shelley went, he's now back, but they lost the Motor City Machine Guns as well. A couple other tag teams disappeared. Now, granted, they weren't huge tag teams, but they were still tag teams nevertheless, like the Triple XL, etc. They were names that sort of kind of fleshed out this tag team division, and what was left was a tag team division really consisting of, 3 or 4 tag teams. It wasn't enough. You had the Good Brothers, you had Violent by Design, and it was kind of it. So I've said before that they need more tag teams to really put more emphasis on that tag team division, and I'm sure that's actually what they want to do. It's just how many tag teams have really been out there for them to sign, especially of the level of the Briscoes. So I think now the fact that the Briscoes are available, I expect their appearance at Multiverse of Matches to just be the beginning. Now, we know they're not going to appear on any episodes of Impact Wrestling going forward because they've already been taped. They were taped in Philadelphia at the former ECW Arena, now 2300 Arena, unless they filmed more stuff during WrestleMania weekend, which is a possibility. But unless they filmed more stuff during WrestleMania weekend, we probably won't see the Briscoes. I would argue probably until Rebellion. They might announce something for Rebellion. That's a possibility as well. I know at Rebellion we're getting this, is it a gauntlet match? Or we're getting this match for the Tag Team Championships that, of course, the Good Brothers are going to be a part of. So I wouldn't be shocked if maybe the Briscoes either attack the Good Brothers at the end of that match at Rebellion, or they're a surprise inclusion and maybe the Briscoes win the Impact World Tag Team Championships at Rebellion. I think that's a really likely destination. I think that's a really likely event that could happen. Again, I don't have any scoops. I'm not a scoopster. I'm not a newsbreaker or anything like that. I just read the news and give my opinion on it and try and predict maybe where it's going to go. I think that if a deal hasn't been agreed, and look, contracts might not be signed, contracts might not be ever signed. We know how Impact Wrestling works when it comes to contract. They are more than happy to be working on a handshake deal or just a verbal agreement. So we could see a situation where the Briscoes become regular members of the Impact Wrestling roster, never sign a contract. They continue working independent events. They'll definitely continue working GCW shows in the same way that Matt Cardona works those shows. They'll probably continue working NWA shows in the same way that Matt Cardona does, and they've made a couple appearances for the NWA, right? So I expect that to continue as well. But I think the Briscoes are likely to come into Impact Wrestling, and I wouldn't be shocked if they're either they return at the end of that match at Rebellion for the Tag Team Championship, or they're a surprise inclusion in that. I probably lean more to the latter. I wouldn't be surprised if they're the final people introduced in that bout and they win the Impact World Tag Team Championships, generate some news, generate some buzz. The Briscoes are in Impact Wrestling. What a pickup for them. And then they go from there. So I think that's probably the most likely situation. And look, it would be a huge signing for Impact Wrestling and a real welcome addition to that tag team scene, no doubt about it. Now, Ace Austin, who is really one of my favorites, must be said. I don't really play favorites that much in professional wrestling, but there are people I like and people that I really like watching. And one of them is Ace Austin. I think he's got a huge upside. I think he's an unbelievable talent, still incredibly young. And some of the things he can do in the ring, some of the matches he's had inside of an Impact Wrestling ring is just absolutely breathtaking, and a real good bit of news for Impact Wrestling here because Ace Austin has signed a new contract with Impact. Now, Austin spoke with Brad Gilmore of Sportskeeda last week and confirmed that he has re-signed with the company. Impact later confirmed the new deal. It was noted that this is a multi-year contract, but the specific terms were not released. We might hear more about them in the coming weeks and months. Now, Austin started working with Impact in 2019. He's a 2-time X Division champion. He was also named X Division Star of the Year for 2020. He commented on having unfinished business in Impact. He said, quote, "I'm super excited, but it's unfinished business. The 2-time X Division champion, 2021 Super X Cup, 2020 Match of the Year, 2020 X Division Star of the Year, but that list isn't long enough for me. We've still got a lot more ahead here with Impact Wrestling." Now, Austin praised Impact as the place to be right now and said he still has a lot left to accomplish before he moves on. He said, quote, "It's just the place to be right now. It's the best environment backstage that I personally experienced. And I got some experience in different locker rooms." He said, "It's the place that has been my home. And it's been such a launching point for me. And like I said, there's unfinished business. It wasn't time to leave yet. After 3 years, I accomplished a lot. But I didn't accomplish everything that I said I would. And that's very important to me." He also tweeted about this. He said, quote, "Once again, I found myself in the same position that I was in 2018. All options in front of me, interest from all sides, and an opportunity to choose what I wanted. The choice was just as easy as it was then. Impact Wrestling is where I want to be. My legacy here is unfinished." So to be honest, I'm glad that he re-signed. I don't think there would have been a ton of value of him going to somewhere like AEW. The roster's just beyond stacked, and that's not to say that he wouldn't stand out there. He fits that style very well, but as I've said several times recently, I just don't think... when you look at people like, say, Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland and Jay Lethal and names like that, who are big names, very good talents, credible talents, that roster is so bloated and it's so difficult to find time on television, to find that spotlight. Now's just not the time. I think the time is to be quite strategic. People like Johnny Gargano, I think, are doing the right thing. Take a step back. Wait. Because people will stop coming eventually because there's just so many free agents. That would die down, and then eventually you can make your mark and you can really have the spotlight on you. When it comes to him in WWE, I'm sure WWE are interested. He's a young guy. He fits into that age bracket that they're looking for. I believe he's still in his 20s. He's got a ton of experience. He's a high flyer. Does he have the size in terms of height that they're looking for? Maybe not. Does he have the athletic background that they're looking for? I believe he was into skateboarding and all that kind of stuff, but maybe not. But I still think they would definitely be interested in someone like Ace Austin. But I think for right now, I think he's made the right call. Again, I think he's a future world champion in Impact Wrestling. He kind of flirted with that main event scene in 2020. He was in the main event of Slammiversary. Hasn't really been able to get back there, and I think that's what he really means by unfinished business. He wants to be the Impact World Champion. I think he absolutely has the potential for it. You could argue the one thing he needs to develop is maybe the promo skills, but as I mentioned several times, I think every pro wrestler nowadays, it's very rare that these pro wrestlers just show up and they're great at promos. That's the hardest thing. And there's a lot of great workers out there right now. There's a lot of people that can do some unbelievable stuff in the ring, but the amount of people that can talk, the amount of people that can sell a story, they're so few and far in between that when you do find them, that's why they stand out. And that would be the part that I think Ace Austin would maybe need to improve on. But he's absolutely someone, as I mentioned before, that I think is a future Impact World Champion. I think he's money. He's absolute money. Now, he's not going to break the record for the youngest world champion in Impact Wrestling history. That's still Tessa Blanchard's record. I thought that they were going to maybe go in that direction when he was in the main event of Slammiversary a couple of years ago, because they were talking about that, and Tessa Blanchard had just dropped the championship, and we know the controversy that surrounds her, and I felt like maybe they were going to try and sort of write over that, shall we say, in the record books, but they didn't go that direction. They went with Eddie Edwards to become the Impact World Champion at the time. But as I mentioned before, multi-year contract extension. I'm sure everyone was interested, but I think it's the right move. He's still in his 20s. When his contract expires, let's say if it's 3 years, he'll still be in his 20s. So WWE and AEW will still absolutely be interested in signing him. And it's just an extra couple of years. And maybe people like WWE might have said to him, actually, you know what? You're great, but maybe get a couple more years experience. Like, still got a lot of people in NXT, and we've got a lot of people on the main roster and all that kind of stuff. He's in the right place for him right now. I don't think there's any doubt about that he's in the right place for Ace Austin. And I think he's right. There still is a lot for him more to achieve. Tag team championship, world championship, definitely. I'd love to see, say, when Josh Alexander wins the Impact World Championship, which he's going to do, I think, at Rebellion, why not have Josh Alexander versus Ace Austin as his first feud for the Impact World Championship? Ace Austin isn't going to win it, but they'll have great matches, and it will certainly help elevate Ace Austin to a point of people can start maybe considering him being back in that World Championship picture. So I think that's absolutely the right call. I think it's absolutely the right call, and I think it's a big signing for Impact Wrestling, no doubt about that. But anyway, guys, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Be sure to like and subscribe to Wrestle News 365, and I'll speak for you again very, very soon. Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.